Yes, Radhika.
Namaste, sir.
Hello.
There is one doubt with me. It's like
Yeah.
when Krishnamurti tells, like, see your anger or see your irritation. I don't understand, how is it to be observed? I just get, when I get irritation, I know I am getting irritated. And with the flow, I do things. And then I will be like, oh, this is what he said. At that moment, I forget it. It's like okay. If I see a snake, I just run. I know that that was the right action. But in this irritation thing or something like anger or any of the emotions, I don't know how it is to be seen as a new thing. It's like the repetition of what had happened before. All those things comes without. It is like it's a fraction of moment. It comes. I don't even understand how it comes. Also, it's that fast maybe.
Yeah. See, the awareness is operating at every level. Okay. So, see, you can see your feelings in that moment. You are aware of that awareness also, that is being aware of those feelings
Yeah, but that
also.
is, sorry, sir, but that is after I get that irritation moment, then I get the awareness. No? At that
Yes, of
moment,
course. Yes, of course. That is okay. That is fine. You know, it is not in our control when we get the awareness, right?
yeah, yeah,
The awareness simply cuts off the thinking, right? Because
huh.
the moment you become aware that the feeling is there, that I'm watching the feeling, then the
And then I
feeling,
stop.
yeah, then it
Yes,
stops,
yeah, then
right?
it stops. Yes,
Yeah, then it stops. But at what point it stops is not in your control. Sometimes it may carry forward for long, right?
yes, sir.
Sometimes
Because this,
it may,
yes, sir, correct. Because
yeah.
2019, these things have started. So at 2020, it was after 1 hour or 2 hours that I used to get away.
Yeah.
Now it's
So,
like at least of 10, 15 minutes, I'll be aware. What am I thinking? Okay, stop it, man. Like that, I say. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So you know what happens is that when when you have absorbed the message, when it has penetrated your being, slowly these moments of witnessing will start happening earlier. And at some point, it will also happen that even before the sensation arises, you will instantly become aware that it is going to arise, and in that moment it gets cut off. Even that happens. But we don't have control over these things. So whether it happens earlier or it happens late, it is not in our control. But there is something which is constantly aware of what is happening. The more you rest in that space of your beingness, which is the ground of all of these experiences, you get to realize uh, you get to realize the essence of it, right? So I don't say there is any practice or any method to become, to achieve that, because if you otherwise, what will happen, if you try to practice this, if you try to become vigilant and try to break the thought at every point, then mind will get trained to do that. You see, the mind will know, this type of thought is coming, let me cut it. But the mind still survives, right? The mind survives. And what will happen in the next moment when the mind fails to catch that, and you get swayed into thinking, then you'll say, oh my God, I've failed. Then you will blame yourself for not being able to catch the thought in time. And then that will produce guilt, right? So
Yes.
that is the continuation of the thinking mind, which it propagates like this. It is just going to produce some sensation or the other. So what I say is, let the awareness do its job, right? See, I was just speaking to a friend of mine this morning, and I said that, you know, I had nothing to do with the teaching of Advaita. I was a completely materialistic guy living a usual life, uh, which regular people live. Working. have my family, job, everything. But over all these years, 22 years I've lived in this place, there is a street outside my house that says Ramana Maharishi Marg. There is an ashram just walking distance from my house, which is Shri Ramana Maharishi Kendra. It was always there, and every day I would pass through that area, I would look at those words, Ramana Maharishi Marg. The pointers were always there, And, I'll just tell you one more thing, very interesting thing. Now, when I was small, when I was in school, we used to live in Lucknow. And even there was a teacher by the name of Papaji, H.W.L. Punjaji, who was a direct disciple of Ramana Maharishi. And I believe he was in somewhere, I'm not too sure about this, but somewhere around Lal Bagh area. I'm not too sure about this. I may be wrong, but it was very close, to my area. And I'm sure my father must have heard about him because he was quite well known in those times, in the 90s and the early 80s. So I see so many pointers from the universe putting me in this direction. So I say, leave it to the awareness. The awareness itself is the poison for the thinking mind. And when the thinking mind dissolves, it cuts off the head of Medusa, which we were talking about earlier. The mind itself cannot do anything to manipulate, to control the understanding, Otherwise, people ask me, like, how can I be better at witnessing? In witnessing, there is no you. Witnessing means the absence of you. Witnessing means what Jiddu Krishnamurti says, he calls it total attention. That includes everything. And, most of us are not even aware because we are so conditioned, when we look at things, when we look at the news, or when we talk to other people, we are constantly filtering our perception. We're constantly doing it. Some of us are not even aware that we're doing it subconsciously. But, when it is understood that there is no doer of anything and things happen, then that filter begins to fade. And automatically an awareness comes about, which colors all perception, all everything. Complete. It is a direct perception, I would say. So there is no analysis, there is no judgment towards anything happening. So if the feeling is arising, let it arise. Let it play out. Sometimes you may become aware that it is there. Sometimes you may not become aware. There is no performance here. There is no achievement here. It is simply being. Ramana Maharishi said, your job is not to be this or that. Your job is to be. And in being, you will find your liberation. Okay? Okay.